Hi, I'm Veronica. I'm a 6'2", self-projected projector, and this is my human design experiments, episode 1. Today's episode is all about self-projected authority. And when I had planned out the episodes for this season, I had planned to start with environment. And I've been studying variable for the last year, and the other day I actually sat down to record the first take of this video, which tech issues, so we're back. But before I sat down earlier that day, my authority told me, nope, we're starting with self-projected authority for episode 1. So yeah, here we are. I discovered human design at the start of the pandemic, pulled my chart, definitely felt like, yeah, this is me. Felt seen, as I'm sure a lot of people do when they first discover their design. And I learned a little bit, got pulled away from it, would come back here and there over the years. And about a year and a half ago, I got really into it again. And about a year ago, I started studying variable specifically. And I would say about maybe 8-9 months ago, give or take, I really started experimenting with my authority finally. Not that my experiment hadn't begun earlier, but I don't think I really knew what my authority was. I don't think I really understood my authority until, even began to understand it, because I'm still in that process and probably always will be. But I don't think I really began to understand it until about 9 months ago. And I say that because when I first learned that I had self-projected authority, there was not a ton of information about it that I could find. I mean, it still really isn't out there. But everything I was coming across was saying, talk it out, sounding board authority, talk it out, talk to someone. And, at first that resonated, because I have been someone in the past, and maybe still am a little bit, who's indecisive. So I would naturally go to other people to talk about things. But I don't think, in hindsight, I don't think I was going to other people to figure out what I really wanted. I think I was going to other people hoping, they would tell me what to do. They would give me an answer. But as I reflect back on, even when I began to experiment, knowing that was my authority, I would go to the people in my life that I know will listen or will ask good questions, or I would be on a walk and voice record myself talking out loud. As I reflect back on that, I don't think I ever really got the clarity that I was looking for. I think I still walked away from those conversations confused or unsure. I think I was still too much in my mind. And I really didn't understand the whole talk it out theory. I mean, I'm sure I understood, talk it out, sounding board, G center is connected to the throat, that throat is defined, talking, that makes sense. But it's about a year or so ago, maybe a little more, I heard Vanessa Henry on a podcast explain that self-projected authority is, you are talking because you're trying to bypass the mind to get to the identity center. And that clicked. That made sense for me. Like, oh, it's not coming from the throat necessarily. It's coming from my identity, my G center. But still to this day, it really isn't a method that works for me. For me, I have found that my self-projected authority is more like an inner knowing. And the more I connect with myself, the easier it is to hear that inner knowing, to get those messages. So I would say when I really started this experiment was when I began an automatic writing process or automatic writing practice. I most mornings will sit down, meditate, maybe pull some tarot cards, and then I'll do my automatic writing. And as soon as I began this practice, the messages, so many messages, would just like flow through me. And I knew that it wasn't me or wasn't my ego, because they weren't always what I wanted to hear. And the messages don't always sound like the way I would speak either. Not always necessarily like the exact language that I use. And one day very early on in this automatic writing process, as I'm writing, I asked, who is this? Where are these messages coming from? And the answer was, that it's me, but like a higher version of me, or, the part of me that has the answers that I'm seeking. And the more often I connect with myself, the easier it is to hear those messages, not just during that practice in the morning, but throughout the day. The easier it is to connect with my authority, with that inner knowing. And I believe Kip Winsett is also self-projected authority, and he had written an Instagram post where I believe he also refers to self-projected authority as an inner knowing, or feeling seeming more like an inner knowing. And that really, really did resonate with me. That was the first time, and I think probably the only time, I've heard someone else explain self-projected authority like that. But that is what it is for me. It is an inner knowing. And of course, at times, I'll try to tap into that inner knowing, and I'm a little unsure of, is that really my inner knowing, or is that my mind? Is that my brain trying to tell me the logical thing to do? Which I think has been the hardest process, or hardest part of this process for sure. As I imagine it probably is for most people, deconditioning and trying to listen to their inner authority, listen to their authority, whether, it's self-projected or emotional or spleen or anything. It's that fight with your mind, your logical brain, that's telling you the responsible thing to do, the smart thing to do, when the inner knowing is telling you, take that leap of faith, or do the thing that seems a little foolish. For the last 6 or so months, I've really been trying to listen to my authority when it comes to making decisions, and I haven't always listened, or I guess I haven't always taken action based on what I hear, based on what I know, on what my authority is telling me. That has been also one of the hardest things. There's been a lot of fear for me around, like, what if my authority is wrong? Or what if I listen to my authority and, I end up in a worse situation than I'm in currently. My authority was telling me months ago, quit my job, quit the toxic job that I was in. It was just such a toxic work environment, and I'm a mountains environment, and I just feel like I was getting dragged into the shit. And I'll definitely, make another video on environment and go into that more. But, I was so hesitant to quit. I felt like, well, I can't quit. That's not the responsible thing to do. Like, I need another job. I need money. And then I finally got another job, quit, and again, my authority was telling me to quit. And I asked myself one day, I'm like standing in my kitchen, I'm just like, why is this happening again? as in like, why do I have another job that like I need to quit again? And the message, the instant response, inner knowing, the answer I received was, so you can act faster. And I immediately knew that meant so that I can learn to take action faster based on my authority. My authority's a little sassy. Blunt, straightforward. So yeah, I quit, and I'm still getting messages from my authority, of course, but kind of waiting for the pieces to fall into place, the next step, or we'll see. What I'll add about the job that my authority told me to quit pretty quickly, that second job, is that I'm about 99.999% sure I never checked in with my authority to see if I should take that job. I never asked my authority if I should go work there. So I might not have found myself in that situation if I would have checked in first and gotten a message to maybe, not take the job in the first place. I don't know. I'll never know, but it is interesting to think about that that's the outcome when I didn't take the time to check in with my authority and I just listened to my mind instead. I think that's everything I have to say about self-projected authority and my experiment so far. Yeah, it's, for me, not a sounding board, not a talk it out thing. It's a deep inner knowing, and the hardest part has been learning to actually listen and take action based on that inner knowing and not let my mind get in the way. Whew. A lot easier said than done. So yeah, I really have been asking myself the question, over the last several months, I've been asking myself, like, what is the cost of not listening to my authority? And I think the cost is probably, being in a toxic environment that's not aligned for me, probably missing or not receiving invitations that would feel good because I'm in this toxic environment where I'm bitter, where I'm not being recognized as a projector. Yeah, not feeling good in my body, which, again, I'll save that for another another video all about my cognition. Yeah, it has been an interesting experiment so far. So, if you're also self-projected authority, I would love to know, how does it show up for you? Is it an inner knowing, or do you talk it out? Does that work for you? Let me know. And if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Please subscribe so you receive notifications every week when I release a new video.